Alright class, for this lesson we're going to be working on figurative language again. And we're going to be analyzing figurative language and then we're going to discuss examples. So let's begin. If you remember, we've been reading about John Burroughs and we're also have been working on figurative language called personification. So remember, when using personification, an author gives human traits, human characteristics to animals or non-human subjects like rocks or trees. John Burroughs used this type of figurative language, personification, as a part of his writing style when describing his observations about nature. So in this lesson, we're going to focus on Burroughs' use of personification to help the reader understand some of the characteristics of chipmunks. We're going to be filling out this chart right here as we go along. Now we're going to reread paragraph 8. So I'm going to zoom in so we can see it. And we're going to be reading paragraph 9 and finding some types of figurative language with us. So we have, somehow, solitary, somehow this poor little guy got stuck up there. So I just moved him down. So let's begin. Paragraph 8. The chipmunk is quite a solitary creature. I have never known more than one to occupy the same den. Apparently, no two can agree to live together. What a clean, pert, dapper, nervous little fellow. So, again, and this one somehow got dragged down too. And then this one, it looks like he was also moved. So let me just fix these. There we go. So what we have here is, we have this sentence, apparently no two can agree to live together. I don't think the author means for us to read this sentence literally. Chipmunks don't really agree or disagree the way people do. They don't sit around and have a discussion and say, oh, would you like to come live with me? No, you're too messy. The author is giving chipmunk human characteristics to help us understand these animals. So the author is expressing the fact that chipmunks are solitary creatures. They're creatures who like to live alone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in this part right here, the paragraph. So this is paragraph 8 that I pulled it from. We're going to make it a little larger like we always do. And then what was this type of figurative language? It was personification, about these chipmunks, saying that they don't agree with each other. And then we right click to do our spell check. And then what's our example? So let me slide this over. Not that one, we want this guy. There we go. And then our example was, apparently no two can agree to live together. So we're copying that straight from the text. So remember, when we copy from the text, what do? We put it in quotation marks. So we show if it's in quotation marks, it's straight from the text. So we're not trying to take credit and saying it's our own words. It's letting the reader know that we got it from somewhere else. And then what does this personification show? Well, it shows us that chipmunks are solitary creatures, that they like to live alone. And then we use our spell checkout to flip that E and that A. And so that's what we're going to be doing with these other parts. We're going to be looking for some examples of personification and filling this out. So let's go back, and now we're going to look at this next part. So in the final sentence, what do I notice? I see the words dapper and nervous, and those are commonly used to describe people. Now, maybe I don't know what the word dapper is, so what's nice about it is we can go to the internet and we can look it up. And dapper means neat and trim and dressed appearance. So it means that you're looking pretty nice. If you want some examples, you can also go to Google Images and you see this is what dapper might look like. People who are dressed up nice or neat. So we'd say these people are dapper. So let's head back. And now it's the same thing with our next paragraph. But I wanted to do this. Sorry. So I have to resize it. In paragraph 8, we have again that personification, that describing of a chipmunk as a person. Because chipmunks, they're not really dapper. They're not really clean or pert as he was describing it like a person is. So again, we're going to put it in quotation marks. And we use ... because remember, it's not the beginning of the sentence, and we put clean, pert, dapper, nervous, ... And maybe we don't know what that word pert is, because even me, as an adult, I had to look it up. So I do that same thing again as I look it up on the internet, and pert means attractive or lively. So it means there's like this glow about him, that he's pretty good. Now, if you look it up on Google Images, it's going to bring you to computer coding like this. So what might we want to do? We might want to put in pert and person, since that's what that definition was that we talked about. And so it's dressed up as lively or nice. So here's an example of pert. So we'd say this person is pert. Now notice this one right here, her middle name is pert. So we do have to be careful when we're looking at it, which is why we always want to make sure that we check that definition too. So now, what is that saying about our chipmunk? Because remember, we have this last part where we need to know, what was this whole purpose of personification? What was the author trying to convey or convince us? Well, he's trying to convince us that he moves around quickly and carefully. He's not staying in one place too long to get dirty. He's constantly on the move. So now, let's see if we can find one in the next paragraph down. How fast his heart beats as he stands up on the wall by the roadside. With his hands spread out upon his breast, he regards you intently. A movement of your arm, and he darts into the wall with a saucy chirp, has the effect of slamming the door behind him. Huh. So, I notice it says he's slamming the door. It has the effect of him slamming the door. Now, obviously, he doesn't really have a door to his den. So, this comparison right here is personification. That slamming motion. And so our example that we're pulling it from is he compares darting off, he compares that moving to slamming the door behind him. So let's add that in. Now what do you notice here? I want to put those ... dots so I know it's not at the beginning or the end. But this one, oops, that is my mistake. It is at the end, slam the door behind him. You notice that's the end of our sentence right there. So what is this showing us about the chipmunk? Well, it's showing us something. It's showing us that chipmunks prefer to be left alone. So that is how we use personification. So we think about, what does a chipmunk do in this paragraph that a person might do? And we notice there's agreeing, there's slamming doors, there's being dapper, clean, pert, nervous. And so we use that to describe this chipmunk to show us how he's kind of acting like a human, even though he doesn't really do those things. So why do you think authors use figurative language in nonfiction to describe something? Well, it's because if we didn't, it's going to be kind of a boring, read. We want, even though it's nonfiction, it's true facts, we still want to engage that reader. So what effect does this personification have on the chipmunk that you, the reader, have? Well, it's giving you that mental picture of how this chipmunk is interacting with the world around him. Now, what you guys will be doing is when you do your writing, you're going to also think, how can we use personification in our own writing? Good job, guys.